In this video, I'm going to show you how easy and how quickly you can texture and produce a piece like this for your portfolio. And we're going to be using our add-on Materialworks, which you can get in our store. Links are in the video description. But recently we updated it to Blender 5.1 and it's working really beautifully. All the trim sheets and decals work amazingly. And this add-on is an absolute beast for texturing. So let me show you how it works. So we're gonna grab this piece here, which is, the same scene basically, and we're gonna break it down a bit later on. But what I want to do is, dive here to another scene, which is clean, and we're gonna be basically, retexturing it from scratch, okay? The easiest way to texture, in Blender is gonna be select one piece, and we're gonna go here to metal, and we're going to select half matte steel, which is this one, and we're going to Control I, which is going to invert the selection, shift click this one and click here and copy matte to select it. And you want to actually use this window here, not the one here for the mattes. It's the same function, but it's actually built into the add-on and handles the nodes a bit better, okay? Now the background here was perforated rubber, so we're gonna go to rubber and find this perforated rubber, which is this one. And occasionally when you, for example, scale your canvas, you may want to reset the scale, so Control A and reset the scale. And then if the texture size is a bit too big or too small, you can always go here to transform, and you can, adjust the scale of the texture, to whatever you want. And Blender 5.1 is going to crash because, of course, it will. Now we also need to change color on this reflector because you see at the moment it's black. So let's go here and remove this half matte steel, add a new matte here, and we could keep it, white or slightly darker, default. And this reflector is going to be reflecting the light back onto our model from the top. So if we're going to find it here in the stack, it's this one, and you see that it's actually reflecting the light back onto the model, so it looks a little bit better, right? Now you can obviously adjust the brightness of this. You can make it darker to add some shadow on the top here. I don't actually want that. I want it to be quite clean, and this is fine. So the way I texture usually, right, is that I texture a model with the main matte. So the matte that's going to be prevailing on my model. So it's going to take about 70-ish% of the model. And then I add accents, which is why I copied the matte to all the elements on this model. So now I'm going to be running accents with a different matte, darker matte, right? That's going to be kind of, fleshing out specific spots on the model. So for example, I'm going to grab one of these keys, go to metal, and go to coated titanium, and we're going to grab that. And then let's select these and this one, and we're going to copy this, right? Boom. Now also there is a piece in here in the middle, you see that? This one, I want in the same color. So let's just copy that. And we're gonna have to texture all these small bits in here separately. So let's just press period numpad and jump to whatever this collection is, which is this one. Let's select this collection. So select objects, shift click here, and we're going to copy that, right? Now this antenna here should be rubber tire. So rubber, and we're gonna select this one. And then we're going to select all these, which are also in a collection. So select objects and copy that, right? This one is metal, that's fine. And again, because my Blender crashed, I need to change color in here. So because you see how dark this top is, that we have no reflection here. So let's remove this, right? And let's add just a regular matte here. So a whitish, right? Now if you're gonna make it darker again, we're gonna get more shadow on the top, you see that? So we can adjust it later on, but for the time being, this is perfect, okay? Now next thing I want is I want this microphone here to be also colored darker. So we're gonna have this area here with buttons and the microphone really nicely fleshed out. And the same here, this one possibly could be darker, but I'm not sure yet. Let me just try that. Yep, I think that definitely looks better. So we get this nice framing with a darker color. It's a bit more matte, surrounding this beautiful, you know, matte steel. And again, these balls, we need to select them, the spheres, right? So let's just go here to the top and select all of them and copy this matte, right? So copy. And that's textured. Now for decals, you can use our add-on to add decals and trim sheets. So you have 860 decals that come with the add-on, and you also have trim sheets. So if you go to edit mode, you're gonna see all the trim sheets. Now for trim sheets, obviously you would need your geo to be in quads, but when you're importing, for example, from Plasticity, you can easily retopologize it using Plasticity Bridge, so it's not a big deal, okay? So now let's press D and go to these stickers here, got Nova, and we're going to rotate it, right? So let's just press D and rotate it. Cool, and we're gonna make it a bit larger. And we're going to press G, hold Control, and just, you know, slap it in here. Now we can make this decal a bit darker. So let's go here and adjust the color. We could actually copy this titanium color, right? Which is gonna be a little bit too bright. So maybe not the best idea. Let's actually keep it at default. So, you know, kind of darkish, right? I think it's fine. It's really kind of cutting into the shape here and, you know, sort of occupying this upper space of this beautiful negative space here, right? So we're gonna have some screws here and here, and we want some small text here in the bottom. So we're gonna link them through the screws to the bottom, right? You have to always observe the negative space on your models and kind of decide, you know, what to put and where. It's really important. The scene is a bit heavy because I got two scenes running at the same time. Because we have a scene 1 and scene 2, right? So it's a bit heavy. We're gonna pop it in here, make it a bit smaller so it's not so vulgar. And we're gonna offset it a bit to the left so it's not in the middle. It's gonna be a bit more interesting, right? Now let's grab some screws. So we're gonna grab, let me see, maybe, where were the screws? Here. Maybe these are fine. Let's make them smaller, right? And just pop one here. And then Shift D and GG and move it somewhere here. So you see the way I'm placing them, right? I'm placing them very, very strategically. So I'm placing a screw here in a corner and another one on a 2/3, 1/3 distance here. So 2/3 from here and 1/3 more or less from here, right? So it's offset. And it's kind of connects this text with this screw with the text here, and your eye is going to be circling around here, then going around this frame all the way to the top and then down. So it creates a really nice dynamic in the image, right? And we also need some screws, one here. So just Shift D, G and pop it in here, and then Shift D, G and pop it in here, right? And you're good to go. And then we're gonna pop two more decals, one here and one here, just to make it more interesting, okay? So let's go to, there we go. Let's grab one of these, they're fantastic. Make them really small. Pop one here, Shift D. Pop one here, and you're good to go, right? And there's your finished image. Now, in terms of HDRIs, we have our own HDRIs. They were created by Alex Central. When you purchase the add-on, you have access to 6 of them. These are the 6 we use the most, and they're fantastic. They were created in Keyshot, and they just plug and play. You literally plug in this gun gradient, and there you go. There's your lighting, right? Now, the reason why the lighting is so good is because we have a camera here. Let me just enable camera, Alt-H. There we go. Camera is pointing from the top, right? So now the lighting is falling at an angle, okay? So the lighting is following an angle and, you know, like this, right? Bounces from the card onto the model and then bounces back to the camera. So it's about 90 degrees between the angle of the light and the angle of the model. So if I, for example, angle myself from this perspective, you see it's going to be super reflective, right? Because I'm sort of angling my view with the angle of the light. So I'm aligning my angle of the camera with the angle of the light. This is actually creating a much more steeper angle between the camera and the light. Another thing is that viewport in Blender is about 50 millimeters, which is not enough because it creates this kind of like a bending effect, okay? You see that? There's a darker area here and a brighter area here. But my camera is of a much different, you know, much different setting because it's 300 millimeters, which is really, really, really long lens. And, you know, it's getting close to orthographic view, which is why the reflections are so flat and so uniform, and there are no distortions in terms of, you know, how the model looks, right? If I leave the camera view and zoom in, you see the difference. Now the model is a bit more distorted. You see that? It's kind of like bending in a camera, right? That's what the wider angle lens distortion creates. You see here, there's kind of like a angle that sort of bends this this arm outwards. You see that? And here as well, right? So it's not straight. If I switch to camera view, you see this view here, the angles are very, very clean and sort of like mathematical. I really like long lenses, and they're very intimate because they get you close to the subject. And this is probably, you know, my favorite way of shooting. And also you get these beautiful, very well distributed reflections that are not being distorted by the camera angle, right? Let's discuss the framing itself. The reason why I frame it like this is because this object, this model, is very angular, right? It has defined, you know, rectangular and squarish forms. This is also very angular. The antenna is angular. Everything is aligned, and except for maybe this element here, this cutout, everything is perpendicular and angled at 90 degrees, right? So what this Dutch angle, sort of a, you know, kind of like a diagonal framing does is, first of all, fills the frame, because I'm filling the frame of 16:9 with the object. But also what I'm doing is I'm adding a dynamic, sort of like a feel to this whole shot. So it's not very static, it's dynamic, even though all the lines in the shot are very static, right? So the angle itself is dynamic, which changes, you know, the feel of the shot. Another thing that's important is the contrast between the background and the model itself. You got this beautiful strong highlight, which is almost white, right? Because the highlight is so strong. But you have this kind of like a dark background, and also semi-dark elements of this object, of this model, surrounding it. So the antenna, this piece here, you know, this, and this bracket are darker, but not as dark as the background, right? So they sort of contrast against the background. I mean, antenna is actually darker, but because it's darker, it's actually contrasting with the background. So you got this kind of a transition from a very bright, you know, middle of this object, which is where you're going to be looking first, and then you're going to be spilling around, again, kind of following the, you know, the design and also the screws, the text, all the way here, and then following here and circling in the image, which is exactly what I want you to be. And I also left space on the top and the bottom for logos, right? So again, we got these two logos, right, on the top and the bottom, and they're dark, so they're not really pulling attention, they're creating a framing. And the text is also very important, because as humans, we're going to be drawn to texts. So you're going to be drawn here and then all the way down here. So you're going to be spanning between these two texts across this beautiful negative space in the middle. And then, you know, coming back all the way here to the top with a concentration of detail, right? It's a main feature, and going down. And if you draw the rule of thirds across this image, you will see that it's basically designed to pull your attention exactly when I want you to look, right? So if I'm going to draw lines here, you know, basically more or less rule of thirds, That's exactly where I want you to look, right? So you're gonna be kind of circling around this image like this, yeah? And then you got these two elements here, right? Plus the antenna, which create this kind of a nice triangle. And then you got another triangle on this side. So, you know, if you're going to break this down to a very solid composition, it's very clean, very calm, but it's very, but it was created with an intent to make it look specifically when I want you to look, and also follow the design and the image the way I want you to follow. So when you're gonna be creating these images, you know, they're really easy to make. And if you wanna texture your models really quickly for renders, then use our add-on Materialworks because it's fantastic. The link is in the video description. And like I said, the add-on comes with 50 pro-grade mats created by a professional artist in Substance Designer. Comes with 25 wear and tear mats. Also comes with 860 decals and 20 trim sheets. You have over 1,000 details and 2 million permutations. So the possibilities are insane. And the mats were designed for texturing sci-fi stuff. So they're just absolutely fantastic, and your stuff's gonna look amazing in renders. So if you wanna create really clean portfolios, you can do it very quickly and very easily using our add-on Materialworks. Well, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.